to Under Pressure. I think I paused there because I'm thinking I really don't like themed impacts. I don't. I thought this was a pay-per-view, but it's a themed impact. But I got to admit, this was a well-executed themed impact. It was good. It was a good impact. I don't like the gimmick of it. I'd rather see a pay-per-view, but it is what it is, and I will take it with that small grain of salt. Now, let's do the opening, which I don't like doing often, but I have to say this because of what happened later tonight. Because you got Sanjay Dutt, who I know now is not generally wrestling for Impact Wrestling. He is working in the back, maybe doing talent relations, which I am glad he's doing that. They need good, experienced wrestlers for that. And they're trying to drum up, well, whoever's been knocking these guys out, don't worry, we've been calling the police, we're going to get it done. And then Petey Williams comes out. Well, not comes out, he just shows up and pretty much says, I know Sanjay. He's doing his best. We will find out who it is. And if it's one of you, we're going to find out. So later that night, Sanjay gets attacked, and it is Petey Williams who finds him. Now that's interesting, particularly that when you see that little segment of that little video with the cross, and then you see someone in the background, you could say the silhouette is Petey Williams. I'm not saying it is. And a lot of people are saying this is a group that is from Lucha Underground, which it could still be. But it does kind of give you a little interest, a little mysteriousness. Who is it? Could it be something about Petey Williams that we don't know about? Maybe they're finally willing to do something with Petey or not. I don't know. But this is what we got. Now, let's open with the show with the match. What's the weakest of them all? I'm sorry. It was the weakest match, but the right person won. Now that was Eli Drake versus Big Papa Pump. This had the weakest storyline of them all, unfortunately. I'd rather see they stretch this out for a little while, but I guess they wanted to end it with Big Papa Pump and Eli Drake, maybe because Big Papa Pump is leaving the company, maybe Eli is leaving the company, or they want to do something different with Eli Drake. I don't know. But in the end, they had to end this. So, was the match good? Look, Scott Steiner is 54, 55 years old. There is no way on this green freaking earth you're going to get an incredible match out of him. Not because he doesn't want to try, it's because he's 55 or 54 years old. There's just no way he can perform the way he used to when he was in his 40s or even his 30s, for goodness sake. So you're not going to get that much out of him. And when you watch this match, you see Eli having to slow down a lot to try and maintain some type of balance between the two. And the one thing, it upsets me, is that they were arguing between each other saying, you had to act like this. Eli Drake, we're taking you everywhere. Basically speaking, I'm not saying that's exactly what was said. It's just that you could have dragged this out a couple of weeks and could have made this a little more substantial. Yes, the match would have still been the same, but you could have made this more special between Eli Drake and Big Papa Pump. You could have had them fight one another. You could have people separate them. Yes, a 55-year-old guy being separated by a whole bunch of guys. I know it would look stupid, but it would have gone with storyline. And that's one of the things that we're really missing throughout wrestling. In the end, Eli Drake won, which was the wisest thing to do. Will they end this feud? I don't know. But to be honest, if they needed to end it, I just wish they could have dragged this out a little bit. I know other people say that's stupid, it didn't need to be. I'm looking for a show that gives us more than just quick matches and very short feuds. Because that's what the WWE is giving us. And as much as a lot of people love the wrestling at like New Japan Pro Wrestling, Lucha Underground and stuff, sometimes you gotta have a longer storyline than a day. I'm just saying. Now, LAX had a segment with Kingston, who is now called King. I'm at least a little happier that you do hear more of Santana and Ortiz talking. They got two good-looking women. Now they're going to go after the Cult of Lee. I'm alright in the sense that, yes, this is giving us something, but there's still one thing that's lacking. That is going in the ring and cutting a promo. Being in a backstage recording this, you can mess up as many times as you want and you can get it perfectly or good. These guys eventually got to do this in the ring or outside the ring. They got to get on the mic and prove they can actually do a job, because as it stands right now, this is one thing I was worried about. If they weren't allowed to talk, they would be irrelevant once they were on their own. And they're on their own. They've been teamed up with another manager and they're irrelevant. Yes, they could probably talk their asses off, but if you don't see them talk by themselves, it just feels like it doesn't matter. They're just a team again with a manager. And the manager's going to talk, which Kingston looks like he can talk, but still is a question if he can get it over once he gets into the Impact Zone. Now, here's a match I'm a little questionable about. Not that it's a bad match, but it's a question. Tessa Blanchard versus Madison Rayne. Seeing Madison win is a little bit of a question for me. Was it the wisest thing to do let Madison Rayne win here? If they're trying to build more up for a Tessa Blanchard, I can understand a little bit of it, but to be honest, it would have been better if Madison Rayne had jobbed. But it makes some sense what's going to happen at the end of my review, because if she did have to win for that situation and that match, then it makes sense. Because, like I said, Tessa really isn't giving me anything. I just don't feel anything from Tessa Blanchard yet. Like I said, maybe she just needs more time. Maybe she needs more matches. Maybe she needs to talk more and win me over. I'm just not feeling it from her. But this is just me. You guys tell me below if you love her or not. Personally, it's not I don't love her. I just don't see the appeal of her yet. I just don't see it. Just because you're a third generation superstar with a uncle who's Magnum TA does not make you a great wrestler. Doesn't make you a great overall wrestler. It just doesn't. But it's still early for me. Now, Desmond Xavier versus... This was David and Goliath. Having Brian Cage versus Desmond Xavier. Was it a good match? Yes, it was, to a certain extent. Desmond Xavier worked his ass off to make that match work. Now, this is the thing when you have a really big, bulky guy versus a really small guy. It can look botchy. And I'm not saying that Brian Cage was bad. And I'm not saying that Desmond Xavier was bad. They did a great job. But sometimes, not all the time, there's great chemistry between a big guy and a small guy. And I felt the chemistry was a tiny bit off. That's just me. I'm sure you're going to say it was an amazing match. I loved it. And more power to you. You're supposed to enjoy it. But as a reviewer, I got to be honest. And I'm seeing this objectively. It looked like they didn't exactly have great chemistry. They had some chemistry, but not great. In the end, Brian Cage is... well, he dominates. But what does this mean? Now you're going to have Brian Cage going up against Matt Sydal for the X Division Championship. Which, that's an interesting thing. When was the last time we actually had a large guy go after the X Division title? Well, guess what? It was Bobby Lashley. He won it. That was a couple of years ago. It's not a bad thing to see a big guy with the X Division title. It would actually make the X Division guys have to work harder to get that damn title off his waist. That's if they're booked properly, and that's still a question. Like I said, we still got a year to wait. Next year, around maybe February, maybe March, we will know if Impact has gained some really good footing and giving us a good show. Now, we have the segment between Alyssa and Eddie Edwards. Let's be honest here. When it comes down to it, hearing Eddie saying, I'm going to fight this guy in the woods and I'm going to kill him. He's going to die. And Alyssa saying, you got to stop. This is what I still believe is going to happen. Alyssa is going to go to Tommy Dreamer, and Tommy Dreamer and Eddie Edwards are going to eventually have a feud that will culminate in Slammiversary. Will this be good storytelling? Yeah. You don't see Tommy Dreamer doing a lot of storylines that kind of throw him back to ECW when it came to what happened with Raven. And what happened with the Sandman and anyone else that was from ECW at that time. It's very rare to actually catch lightning in a bottle. And when it comes to this, it's not like catching lightning in a bottle like it was between Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman or Tommy Dreamer and Raven, but it's not a bad feud because of the accent with let's be honest, Sami Callihan whacking him in the eye, that looked bad and it screwed him up and it could have blinded him for life. Luckily, he didn't end up blind. Luckily, they were able to capitalize on this, and people are still talking about this feud. People are liking Eddie Edwards acting on the dark side, which I'm not minding it either. He's not a great actor, but he's doing pretty good. So I want to see Eddie Edwards versus Tommy Dreamer at Slammiversary with, and I repeat this again, if Alyssa is not in the corner of Tommy Dreamer, this will not work. If she's not involved in it and she stays with Eddie, this will go wrong. This will 100% go wrong and we will hate it. It's got to go down that route. It may be very telegraphed, but it's the best telegraph we can have. Now, let's see here. Will be Su Yung versus Ali for the Knockouts title, which looked pretty nice. Now, I thought when I saw this match, they should have left this for the end. They should have. This should have been the end of the show. But I understand the reason why they didn't do that. But this match, where we normally don't see women do a casket match, a last rites match, as far as I know, is normally not shown on nation or international television often or ever. I don't know when the last time any woman has done this on a national platform or international platform. This could be the first time. They actually showed Sting and Abyss right after this to show what a male's last rites match was like at the very end, which I state this again, it was wise to make it only about 2 minutes long. It was beautiful. As long as it didn't go 10 minutes with it, they went maybe about 2 minutes. And I loved to see that they kind of followed up showing that if a woman can do it, also a man had done it. And it was profound. Was this a good match? Damn yes. I can't believe I said damn yes. Hell yes. There you go. And this is the most important thing, did Ali play her part right as channeling? I really did not want to see her be Rosemary. I wanted her to be Cherry Bomb. And then if you're going to go into Rosemary, then you go into Rosemary. So essentially speaking, what you got here is they skipped the Cherry Bomb and went straight to Rosemary. Was it done well? She didn't do a bad job at it. I really believed it would have been better if she built up into it. And I know a lot of people are going to say, dude, it didn't need to be built up. Yes, I'm seeing it objectively. You're just seeing it from the perspective of somebody who just want it now. If you want a more stronger payout, you need to make it a little longer than a few weeks. If this took 2 or 3 months and she gradually became more and more dark, becoming like she did when she first was on Impact as Cherry Bomb, and then jumping from there to Rosemary, I would have been highly satisfied. And I think it would have had a better payout and you guys would have loved it even more. Seeing how dark she could truly get. Seeing how she can attack people even more than just Su Yung. She could have gone after the undead brides one by one, or at least 1 or 2 of them before getting to Su Yung. But we got this, which was good. And in the end, you got the Mandible Claw taking her out and putting her into the casket, and Su Yung is on top with the undead brides, happy. It was a great match. And I believe this is the reason why Madison Rayne did not job. Because if you've seen Madison Rayne's track record for the last near 3 years, she has generally jobbed a lot. She built up somebody and she jobbed. Built up somebody and she jobbed. So in this respect, if she didn't job because she's going after Su Yung just because Don Callis even stated, hey, she could probably go after her, but she's going to have to go to a dark place. I believe that was just basically telling us we're going to eventually have a feud between them. And if I'm right, this is going to get Su Yung over. Having a credible champion to go up against who isn't Ali will eventually help Su Yung. That's just me. Finally, they did it better than the WWE. Maybe I might use that as a title instead of just Under Pressure. You got Austin Aries against Pentagram Jr. for the World Championship. A very physical match, a very hard match, a very high-flying match, a lot of submission, which wasn't bad. It did go a lot more back and forth than normally that I would like, but it does not mean it was bad. And in the end, this is what happens at the end. It's near the end of the match. You basically get a countout, double countdown. It pisses Austin Aries' ass off totally. And he says, fuck this. Get your ass in this ring. If you got some balls, face me again. Pentagon Jr. says, okay, I'll fuck you up. He doesn't say this actually. But basically, he messes him up on the ring skirt. And they get another countout. I forgot what he calls it. The Zero Fear something. I'm sorry. I don't usually watch Pentagon Jr., so I don't know his moves very well. But in the end, once again, this move happens. They get another double count out. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Once again, Pentagon Jr., he gets back in the ring, and he says in Spanish, I want you in here. Let's restart the match. Now, I'm going like, where are they going with this? They're doing the WWE, but I think they're doing it just a little better because the WWE spread it out and it was not done very well, particularly at WrestleMania, how things ended up. Even though it was a good nut shot that Shinsuke Nakamura did on AJ Styles at WrestleMania, or was it? I can't remember if it was WrestleMania or Backlash. I can't remember. But essentially speaking, once this happened, you see Austin Aries giving Pentagon Jr. a kick to the nuts and a roll-up and a win. Now, what does this mean? Pentagon Jr. has perfect right to get revenge on Austin Aries. He has the right to try and snap his shoulder out of the socket, which I think he might do in the next Impact or the Impact after that. He's going to demand another match, which he has the right to. But I think before he demands that match, he may just try to snap Austin Aries' arm. And this gives us more than what we get at the WWE. Now, was this a good show? Yes, it was. It was more better than I expected it to be. But I hate these themed impacts. I'm not going to lie about it. I wish they would just go back to doing more pay-per-views. But we got what we got. And this really hypes me up for Slammiversary. Now, you guys tell me below what you think, and I don't know if I'm just saying this, that I know they're going to have a, one night only. I don't know if I'll be able to see it because I may have something to do. I think it's going to be on Saturday. I'm not sure, or Friday. I have to check. But if I'm going to see it, I may do a review of it. But this was a good show. You can easily see it more than once, particularly for the casket match, the last rites match, or the end match between Pentagon Jr. and Austin Aries. You'll love the double countout, and you'll love the nut shot. Maybe. There's some people, I'm sure they're going to hate it, but I think they executed it way better than the WWE. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace!